won 4 and retained the trophy. South of England and North of England won 3 bouts each, with the South of England ahead on points. The Midlands won 2 and lost 2, and finally North of Ireland and Scotland scored a duck this time round. My thanks to all 6 teams, and thank you very much for listening and for your brilliant question ideas, which we look forward to receiving through rbq@bbc.co.uk by email or by post to Round Britain Quiz at BBC Manchester M61SJ. That's BBC Manchester M61SJ. From us all, until next time, goodbye.
Tom Sutcliffe. Round Britain Quiz is produced by Paul Bajoria. Next week sees the start of the new season of Brain of Britain with Russell Davies in the Question Master's chair. After the news, things get heated at Grange Farm in the Archers, but first, a word from Joshua Rosenberg.
What kind of legal system will we have if budgets are cut by a quarter? When couples split up, how will they get access to justice when courts are closed and legal aid is cut back? In his first interview since becoming the most senior judge in England and Wales, Sir Nicholas Wall will be discussing the huge challenges facing family justice. And then in the second edition of the programme, after the cuts have been announced, I'll be asking the Justice Secretary how he's going to cope. Ken Clarke will be speaking to me and an invited audience in the very hall where he became a barrister nearly 50 years ago. Top People talk to Law in Action, starting tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
BBC News at 2 o'clock. The threat from online attacks will be identified as a major danger when the government outlines its national security strategy. The review, to be published shortly, will also flag up the risk from international terrorism, natural hazards such as pandemics, and international military crises. Shadow Chancellor Alan Johnson has said the government's plans to cut the deficit will put growth and jobs at risk. In a speech in the City of London, Mr Johnson called instead for more tax rises and fewer spending cuts. He said Labour was sticking to its policy of reducing the deficit by half in the next 4 years. But the government's approach has been backed by 35 business leaders in a letter to the Daily Telegraph. One of them, the Conservative peer Lord Wolfson, who's the chief executive of the retailer Next, told The World at One, here on Radio 4, that borrowing had to be reduced quickly.
The alternative, I'm afraid, is to guarantee failure, because if we go any slower, then the additional debt the government will accumulate over the next 8 years, I estimate to be in the order of £200 billion. So, yes, there are some risks involved, but to go slower is to guarantee failure, and it's something that we can't allow to happen.
France's aviation authority has ordered airlines to reduce their flights by at least 30% tomorrow because of the strikes against pension reform. A blockade of oil refineries has disrupted fuel supplies across the country. A plan to build a 10-mile barrage across the Severn estuary to harness tidal energy has been scrapped. The government has decided not to invest in the project, describing the £30 billion cost as excessive. The Newcastle United striker Andy Carroll has been bailed to live with his club captain after appearing in court charged with assaulting his ex-girlfriend. Magistrates ruled that the 21-year-old would have to stay at the home of Kevin Nolan except days when Newcastle were playing. Andy Carroll says he'll deny the charge and claims self-defence. BBC News.
Our play in 15 minutes is the story of Antoine de Saint-Exupéry's plane crash in Libya in 1935. But first here on Radio 4, Jazzers on the move again in the Archers.
Here, this is your room.
Just like I remember. There's a cupboard.
Come on.
It feels even smaller now.
A box room.
A shoebox, maybe.
Compact is the word. But the ceiling height's good and it's nicely proportioned.
For a wee rabbit. A pig-arc's bigger than this.
That's her. You've got to remember, space is all relative. Like, how much room do you need?
Enough so my feet don't hang out the window.
Well, fresh air won't hurt.
I should never have moved. I should have stayed where I was in Tom's place.
Yeah, I think Brenda might have a strong view on that.
Aye.
You're lucky they let you stay on an extra night.
She didn't need to come on all heavy. Threatened to chuck all my stuff out into the green.
Well, so here you are. Perfect pad. All newly furbished, redecorated.
Any colour as long as it's white, yeah.
Lillian chose the decor. I think it feels very spacious. And that's a brand new carpet too.
Bugger. White.
Yeah, and I tend to leave my shoes in the hall. You might want to do the same.
Oh, Harry, if this is my bedroom, where's the bed?
Ah, yeah.
All I can see is a couch.
Jazz, a futon?
A what?
Yeah, it unfolds onto the floor.
What? And I'm supposed to sleep on that?
That's great, it's really comfy. I'll show you when you're ready.
I guess I don't have much choice there.
Hey, it's a great little room, it's